Thedy, you talk about this very interesting concept of children being orchids or dandelions. And that's such a great metaphor. And I'm just wondering if you would be able to just give us a little bit of understanding of, if what's going on in a child if they're an orchid or as opposed to a dandelion.
Yes. And I have to give credit because I'm not the originator of that terminology. There's a book that just came out January 2019 by Thomas Boyce. He is a pediatric epidemiologist at University of California, San Francisco. And he's the one that created that concept of orchids versus dandelions. So I've kind of taken his research and complemented it with some other work by other researchers that arrive at the same thing. But in essence, Boyce and his colleagues have found out through epidemiological research that there are 15 to 20% of kids that utilize over 50% of medical and psychiatric services. And those kids are usually considered to be high reactivity. Their stress response system is very easy to dysregulate. Mm-hmm. And this is associated with kids that have that are called temperamental, and we know that this is not new. What is new about the concept of the orchid is that in the past, psychiatric research was driven by what we call the diathesis stress. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word correctly, diathesis stress model. And in essence, if you had some genetic predisposition to be more vulnerable, you were pretty much out of luck. You were going to have a pretty tough life. But what these researchers found out is that these orchid kids, they, based on their environment, if they have a very bad environment, they don't do very well. But if they have a very supportive environment, they do better than the dandelions, the ones that are not high reactivity. Now that is very important. The reason why it's important is because, and I remember when I was doing my training, it's almost like we would inherit this very thick file. It's something like, oh boy, I'm just gonna manage this because nothing good is gonna come out of this. And the way that I looked at it is, this is a thick file. Something has not been done properly here. There is potential. So these kids are extraordinary. They're gifted. They're usually very high IQ. They feel the pain of the world. It's almost like their nerve endings. It's like if you and me, Matt, we have 10 nerve endings, just metaphorically, they have 1,000. So they sense, but they don't have the brain hardware to process it. So they become overwhelmed. And so they bitch and they can't pay attention and they worry about the parents' problems and they take care of their friends. And their physiology, their immune system is compromised. They get more asthma, more respiratory illnesses, more colds, more everything.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And for those that aren't aware of how the metaphor really makes sense, orchids really are very sensitive to their environment, and dandelions will grow anywhere.
Anywhere. So. Yeah, you step on them and the next day they're there.
They're there.
Well, if you want to know more about the science of psychotherapy, come across to our website, thescienceofpsychotherapy.com, and our podcast of the same name, and learn more about the science of you.